Well, I think music has been always kind of dependent on technology, which is a good thing. Starting from the Beatles, where they all like squeezed everything on 4 or 8 tapes tracks, on the tape machine, and having a clever producer kind of like organizing all that. Up until now, where you have like computers, which is like you have basically all the space you need for recording. So it basically means sometimes you can kind of like just record, and then you just like slice out the best recording if you had. But back then, basically, you really had to play what was then later actually on the record. So sometimes it can mean that people get lazy, maybe. But I think that nowadays you have all the opportunities, which is a beautiful thing. You can still use old recording techniques, which you will hear, I think, and having all these beautiful modern techniques, to basically come up with something new. Because honestly, that's what every artist or every producer, that's what they wish for, to actually come up with something new. I have one saying which I actually live right now. It's called learning by burning. So basically, you make experiences. Some work, some don't work. The ones you don't work, you at least learn of them, from them, and then you go another route. So I basically started as a musician, as a producer. Then you kind of went like, doing writing songs. Then you're a businessman. You're an A&R for your own record company. You're an engineer. I never learned that, but I'm still engineering my stuff. I do film composing. I do all these aspects of music. So I really need the variety of things, And for me, I really enjoy my job being kind of a seasonal affair, kind of like seeing like, look, now it's DJ time. The next season is going to be like producing. The next season is going to be soundtracks or whatever. And that's how I work, actually. I think it has a certain groove to it. You always kind of like tap your music if you listen to my, tap your foot if you listen to my music. But I still combine analog and digital, which is really important. Even if I do a track and like program my beats, I still would want to use a drummer to maybe play a hi-hat to it, or like a live instrument, or play my own keys and all that stuff. So it has a certain life to it, but a certain punch from the digital side. And I always love a good vocal. Oh man, there's so many things went wrong, which I'm actually happy that they went wrong. So because I learned of it. But a very nice story I remember was actually with Sex Bomb. And again, that was maybe pre computer, Pro Tools, whatever times, where you just can switch a key really fast, change the tempo, whatever. So basically, I did a demo of Sex Bomb. I sent it to Tom Jones. He liked it. He invited me over to the studio, went to London, a really cool little studio called Bunk, Junk, and Genius. Small place, really nice. So I went there with my DAT tape. I went there with the instrumental of Tom of Sex Bomb. Said like, all right, Tom, here we are. So we listened to it. Said like, it's really cool, but we need to change the key. I'm like, oh, well, yeah. How do we do that? And I was sweating for a minute. And then the engineer had a really cool idea. We basically put a harmonizer on the whole instrumental, which sounded a bit funny, but Tom could actually sing in his own key. So I basically sang to a really wacky demo being harmonized to his key. And then he sang again to the original. And basically, if you now listen to Sex Bomb, you have the song going, and then I do this transition, Sex Bomb. That's actually how that came about. So I use the original, and then I use the transposed version, which I then obviously could do when I was back in Hanover at my studio. And yeah, so there was a little bit of a weird situation, but actually it turned out right. I wouldn't say I'm a gear slut or something, but I like craft. I like nice equipment, obviously equipment which makes me feel good and delivers whenever I need it to deliver. And I have a lot of, obviously headphones are really important for me. I think, after I was born, I started using HD25s, I think. As a DJ, I got the HD8, I think, HDJ8. Beautiful headphone. Crisp, good volume on it. As for my speakers, I have custom-made speakers in my studios, but we use a lot of the Neumanns, actually. So beautiful, very solid, and very kind of, they give you the sound how it actually is, which I really like. Then, obviously, I'm not the best keyboardist maybe in the world, but I love my keyboards. I have a beautiful Wurlitzer, beautiful Rhodes. We got a couple of nice keyboards here, the CS20 from Yamaha, for instance, which is a dinosaur, but it sounds amazing. got my Mini Moog. Amazing microphone collections we have here. So when the wall actually came down in Germany, my partner, he went to East Germany and bought a lot of like very, very cheap Neumann microphones. So we have a beautiful selection of all sorts of Neumanns, which is beautiful. Loving my Sennheiser microphones, like the MD 421, for instance, very, very beautiful. I have in my studio, I mean, obviously we have here the SSL Duality, you know, which is great because it features all the analog goodies from the old desk, but you can actually, you know, use the digital you know, opportunities, you know, which is really cool. In my studio, I have a very, very old desk from Mytek, really old company, and it crackles everywhere, but it's actually the sound I prefer. It has a certain dirt to it, you know, which is really nice. And to be honest, whenever I work here, I try to kind of like crank it up as much as possible. So that's really, really beautiful. And that in combination with a computer, so with a couple of cool, you know, software features and stuff, I like to try out a lot of things. This is very because I'm not a educated sound engineer, so I basically go by my ears. You know, even if a professor would come and say like, look, you can't do that. You know, look in the book, that frequency is not allowed. I gotta, you know, let's do it. So I really like that. So but I really like, for instance, a vocal to be like properly recorded. So you know, I need a good preamp. I need a good limiter, like the LA2A is very nice. I run the vocals mostly through a Chandler preamp, for instance, and then I go through my console directly in the computer. Yeah, apart from that, you know, I work a lot with like samples. You know, I try to do my own sounds because most of the time, especially when you work with software or with keyboards or all that stuff, you know, you have a lot of presets and you tend to be really lazy and use maybe sounds that everybody would use. So I really take my time in research for sounds. You know, sometimes that's almost like a little holiday that I take, like a month or 2 weeks or something, like to prepare a new set of sound and then go back to the studio and work on stuff. So basically, my socialization, if you want to say so, or my history, like where I come from musically, it was basically hard rock. Then at one point, I got to listen on to Donna Summer, "I Feel Love" on the radio, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. What is this? It's like disco electronic. So I really kind of discovered dance music really. And I always loved beautiful vocals, so I was always a big fan of like R&B vocals and all that stuff. So that's where I basically came from. And then founding my own label, my own underground label, Peppermint Jam, you know, I was always a fan of house music, you know, really cool New York style house music. And then basically after Horny and more so after Sex Bomb, having those kind of successes, you know, I had a situation where friends and business partners out of the cool label circuit were calling me, saying, look, man, congratulations on the success, but that's going to be it for you in terms of coolness. So just forget it. And I'm like, you know, you're like really scared for a minute. You know, you go like, okay, what's now? What's going on? But that, to be honest, that opened up another world for me. You know, so I said like, all right, there's so much music out there. You know, it's not only about the cool beats or whatever. So you know, it's like whether it's classical, rock, or whatever. I would try everything which is. I mean, today I would do that, you know, which is not like obviously related to me. And that's how I do music nowadays. So I do something like for the Defected label. I just recently did a House Masters compilation which features all my like old cool remixes and cool work. Then I just did my third artist album, which is more like on the funk pop tip. I do soundtracks, whatever. So whatever is there, I try, and I really love that. So you know, when you're a producer or creative person, you know, you basically are allowed to try a lot of like genres. One piece of advice I would give to people being in the business or maybe wanna get started or something. Well, I mean, I don't know everything obviously, but from my point of view, it's great to try something, to come up with something which is new. You know, it's easier said than done, but at least, you know, try. If you have a vision and you're against all odds, it's basically a great little thing because, you know, it's at least then you're different. Good gear is going to help you for sure. You know, if you know that you can really, you know, that your gear is going to be there for you basically, and go and do a lot of internships. Internships are great because you actually get to work immediately and you meet a lot of studio people in the studio. You know, wherever you go, you meet the artists, you meet the sound engineers. If you're doing good, you know, they're always going to go like, look, this guy's really great, you know, please go ahead and use it, or use them, or I'm going to call my friend in LA or London and, you know, just go there. So, you know, go around, travel the world, and you know, be creative.